What's up, my fellow explorers, and welcome to Starfield. Your dude Sly here, and thanks for coming back to another Starfield video. You know, over the past few years, I've been asked over and over again, what is this new Starfield game? What is it about? Does it have aliens? Is it a shooter? First person or third? Will it be magic? Etc. Well, truth is, guys, we still have well over a year worth of development before a lot of those questions will be answered. However, with E3 winding down, we've been given more information in the past week than we have seen in years. So in this video, let's dive into everything that we know about this game Starfield so far. We'll first answer some questions, and then we'll break down the recent trailer and uncover a lot of information, a lot of hidden information. Now, I wanted to get this video out sooner, but zooming into everything, trying to find the right angle, trying to make it not so fuzzy, trying to decipher all the words and things found inside the trailers has taken literally forever. So I apologize about it, but hey, better late than never. So first things first, let's talk about the big takeaways, the big pieces of news, and then we'll ravage through the various videos and point out some of the smaller hidden details. And hopefully by the end of this video, it will give you a decent understanding on what type of game Starfield's trying to be. As always, all the links to the videos and articles mentioned in here will be posted down below in the description box. Just as a heads up, this video will be kind of long, but enough talk, guys. Let's get this bad boy started. So what kind of game will Starfield be? Well, this is kind of a hard one to answer right now. We know via the recent UK Telegraph article, as well as the Washington Post article, that Starfield will be one of the most hardcore RPGs Bethesda has created so far. There's going to be deep character customization, along with the ability to choose your background story and have that background reflect in the game around you. Now, to what degree, we're really not sure yet. Todd Howard has been creating this game for almost 25 years, and over the years, Bethesda has created an internal wiki-like server. This employees-only database consists of everything inside the Starfield universe, from histories, timelines, the different systems and planets, in-game technology, ships, factions, characters, wars, I mean, you name it, it has it. It all started out as small ideas and then were refined and woven together. According to Todd Howard, they started out with a timeline of major events and then mapped out where this game would take place within this new timeline. They then landed on around 300 years-ish into the future from the year 2022. Also, since this game has been swimming around for over 2 decades, that gives a lot of extra time to set things in stone as well as define and refine specific pieces of technology that will be central to the game itself, especially in-game technology. George Lucas wrote things on napkins and scrap pieces of paper for years during his free time when he was creating the Star Wars universe, and similarly, Todd Howard has been doing the same, researching space manufacturing plants such as SpaceX and refining his idea for the game, which is set in a more realistic tone than any other Bethesda game so far. However, Howard concedes that it is still a game and there will be things like sound and space that don't really quite make sense. However, Bethesda is shooting for a kind of in-this-moment believability, that 300 years into the future, the technology shown in Starfield will be believable if you see what we have today and then give it a 300-year facelift. Now, I'll get into some examples of Starfield technology a little later in the video, and it's pretty wild, especially once we start zooming into all the control panels and start breaking down the trailer. Next up, another big one, is Starfield first person or third person? Is it an open world, a few open worlds? What is its scope and size? Again, no one can definitively say how large this game will be, but according to Todd Howard, it is the largest game they have ever built. However, it's not infinite in a No Man's Sky kind of way. Howard promises a game that will range in the hundreds of hours of playtime type of big. Here's a small snippet from the recent Telegraph article. Quote, "There are alien races too, although Howard won't disclose how they tie into the game's realistic grounding. There's a way we approach it, I will say that, and the planets to explore. How challenging is it to design an open universe versus an open world? The worlds of Elder Scrolls and Fallout are large but relatively self-contained. The universe is, by its very nature, infinite." Not necessarily, counters Howard. I don't want to set any crazy expectations for that. You know, we have cities, and we built them like we've built the cities we built before, and we have lots of locations that we're building like we've built before, and we want that experience of you exploring those to be, you know, as rewarding as what we've done before. There are some different spins on that given the subject matter, but we like that about games. We want to point you in a direction and then walk and have our curiosity be piqued and hopefully rewarded, end quote. The nuts and bolts of planetary exploration are currently off limits for now, but Howard is quick to reassure that Starfield is an enormous game designed to be explored. Again, we'll get to all the known systems and planets here in a few. As far as a first-person or third-person point of view, you will be able to play as both. Like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls games, they feature a sort of zoom-in feature where you can use both viewpoints whenever you like. Next, the Bethesda DNA. Bethesda is known for its open-world RPG games and also building within them. It's not too much of a stretch to think that we're going to see much of the same within Starfield. This is a game Todd Howard has always wanted to not only build and create, but a game that he's always wanted to play, kind of like the perfect game. And to me, that includes upgrading your own ship, building space stations or outposts, and of course a storyline that weaves in some of humanity's largest questions. What's beyond the galaxy? Are there other humans out there? Where is God, or is there a God? Why are we here, and what happens if we keep going past what we can see? What is out there? These are the types of questions that have been driving Todd Howard in the creation of Starfield. It's a game that you can play by yourself in first or third person. You can go and create your own journey from the get-go or follow the critical path. But according to Howard, it will feel rewarding no matter what you choose to do. Quote, "Well, we like to put you in a world where we're not dragging you by the nose and saying you must do X, Y, and Z, and that it's okay for you to want to test the game's boundaries. You know, can I read this book? Can I pick this up? Can I do this? What if I do this? And what if I do this?" And the game is saying yes a lot. It has large-scale goals and storytelling, but that minute-to-minute feels rewarding for you. And if you just want to pass the time and go and watch the sunset and pick flowers, it's rewarding in that way too. The quiet moments feel really, really good. Next up, will there be weapons, wars, factions? Yes, as you can see from the launch date trailer, guns will be throughout the game, and we've also learned that there will be even higher-tiered, exotic type of weapons as well. So while the game and its technology, atmosphere, and tone will all be centered around, believability, there will be shooter-like elements, as you will see in a moment. Perhaps even ship-to-ship combat as well. Quote, "Like there's various guns the player has, and other weapons and things like that, but the more exotic ones feel exotic in the reality of the game versus not," end quote. As for factions, we learned via a recent article that Starfield will be similar to Skyrim in a sense that there will be several factions the player can join up with. Of course, each faction will have their own sense of purpose and morality, so the player can join up and identify its character even further by committing to one. When we get into breaking down the trailers, we'll see and learn more about the different factions and their names as well. Only recently has technology caught up with Todd Howard's vision. This is a game that Todd Howard has always wanted to play, and I think each of us space RPG nerds out there have had their own version of that perfect game in their mind. To me, it's kind of a mix of Mass Effect, Destiny, a splash of Anthem, Fallout, and Elite Dangerous all packed into one. That's the space epic that I envision when I find my perfect game. Maybe some MMO elements from like Final Fantasy or Guild Wars as well. This is his version of the perfect game, and we're not at a point in time where more than just PCs can handle a game like this. Games being created from scratch today in 2021 feature more texture-rich and realistic objects than ever before. Just look at the Unreal Engine 5 demo, the new Creation Engine 2, Snowdrop, etc. Photorealism is where gaming is heading, and I think that, along with the sheer complexity and numerous systems, and of course the size, the image load screen times of a game like this back on the Xbox One or 360 would just have been absolutely insane, and probably just one of the reasons why they waited so long to finally start making Starfield. So I can see why Todd Howard wanted to wait until now to make sure technology has caught up with his vision. Okay, so now let's dive into the trailers on a deeper level. Scouring these videos gives us 10 times the information that the press conference did. Now, I'm not going to go over everything here because if I went over every little bit and bob, it would be like a 3-hour-long video. So let's go ahead and start and hit the big points. First, this right here. A lot of complaining has popped up online about using CGI, and it states right here that this is in-game alpha footage using the new and updated Creation Engine 2. Microsoft has worked with Bethesda for years on updating this engine specifically for this game and the upcoming Elder Scrolls. So it starts off, we see the cargo hold of the ship, and the real game aspect starts to stand out here. Immediately you'll see a live plant strapped down to the floor. However, our character is in a full spacesuit. Any living thing, especially a plant, would die from the cold or heat or lack of atmosphere when the cargo bay door opens and depressurizes. So this is that fine line between realism and playing a game. The term NASA punk has been created to kind of give a sense of artistic style to this game. Thinking about the space program now, along with its future designs and incorporating it into what Bethesda thinks it would look like a few hundred years into the future. And if you kind of think about it, this sums it up right here. You see different kinds of like cubby holes with various space straps, a lot of things like it looks like a space station, but nothing that's so far removed from what we know today. As we browse around the inside, we see various cargo and machinery, along with 2 tanks in the back that read oxygen and sulfur dioxide. You can also see a bunch of different type of machinery and cargo, along with the space medpack. Now the ladder leads up to the living/working quarters. You can see the spaceman go up the ladder here, and in the next few frames, you see him climb up over in this area. So this could be the middle deck of the ship. The machine in front of us shows that no magnetized objects are on display. So this could be some kind of 3D navigational chart to plot courses or to view schematics. There's actually a lot of information in this little, scene here. The coffee mug on the table reads Nova Galactic, which, as you will see here soon, Nova Galactic is actually the company who makes the Frontier spaceship your character's using in this video. It's just one of a few companies we get to read off in this video. Now, some of the other buttons on here are kind of hard to read, but it says Catalog, Simulate, Diagnostic, and Commit. It just further backs up the navigational blueprint or schematic nature of this machine. Now, unfortunately, my 1440p monitor isn't able to pick out the smallest of details held within this video. And even though I scoured this entire video myself and found a lot of things to go over, which we will, a Redditor who goes by the name of Odah created a Google document along with a few zoomed in pictures of hard to read items that were out of my reach. And a few of them were things I couldn't see. So shout out to Odah for some of these images, as I definitely would have missed them. The first of which is the edge of the nav machine right here. You see kind of like an orange block on the corner, which says status landed, GFLA spooled, and nav compute. GFLA is something that pops up around this ship a lot, and we'll get to the implications of that here in a few. Everyone's pretty sure that it stands for Gravity Field Loop Array. Next, something else this machine has a name. It's called a Deep Core Astro Guidance Station. Now, no idea if Deep Core is another Starfield company or a type of nav machine. One that really stands out to me, though, is this here. Leaked images from quite some time ago started to appear online, and I talked a little about this in another video, but it looks like this graph here and this leaked image are the same. Moreover, I think that this is actually the watch. You see it being shown in the recent Constellation log video as a prop or possibly part of the collector's edition version of Starfield. But each Constellation Explorer gets a watch like this, and this is the first real look at Starfield that we've had. So why show a watch unless it has huge importance? I think that this watch is something highly technical. It can work on your wrist as, of course, a watch or a personal navigation aid or GPS, perhaps also atmospheric, gravitational readings, or maybe even like a mini-map or something like that. Or maybe it can even survey while you're out on missions and, upload various kinds of data as you're walking through different planets. You can then remove it and plug it into the Deep Core Astro Guidance Station to upload or download various data, and then pop it back onto your watch if you're heading outside. So I think that this graph right here might actually be the watch, only detached from the wrist. Kind of like you're taking your smartwatch and plugging it into your PC or your phone, this one here just takes it a step further. Again, complete speculation, but to me it's something that's believable and also possible in a future setting. As the video continues, in the next scene we see a flight manual for the ship, and again Nova Galactic pops up along with a new brand called Chunks. Now, besides the texture-filled sandwich over here in the side, Chunks is a sort of space food, a kind of MRE that Todd Howard has confirmed in one of the recent articles. We also see something that looks like a lightsaber here on the table as well, but actually, if you zoom in close enough, you can see that it says Digipic on the side, along with the different zoom arrows. So it's probably some kind of digital monocular. Then the square apples, which is probably apples grown in space, shaped to be cubed for maximizing food storage in square containers. Again, something that we're working on right now here on Earth. Moving on, we finally get an awesome look at a futuristic looking weapon. Now this beauty gives up a couple of cool secrets. First, we see the number 24, which is the number of rounds available or left in the mag, and you'll see when you zoom in it's actually out of 100. And the exclamation point popping up is stating that the safety is on. All this information being shown is actually the mag itself. If you zoom in, you can also see that the bullets are 7.77 by 37 millimeters, and also it shows the name Grendel and Grendel Combat Tech. So there's a couple of possibilities here. The model of the weapon is Grendel, manufactured by Combat Tech, or the weapon's name is the Grendel Combat Tech, or it's possible that that's the complete manufacturer's name. Either way, it has a top-load magazine similar to a P90 submachine gun, and it has a really futuristic vibe to it, along with the digital displays of ammos and warning signs, along with what seems to be some kind of futuristic recoil control system. A sexy weapon, no doubt about it. There's a little more writing to be gleaned, but I can't quite make out what it says. The very last thing I can notice down by the stock, it looks to say STL battery something. I think it says battery pack, but things are too small to read on my PC. But again, it makes sense. If you have all these extra digital systems, you're going to need some kind of way to power them. What I really like about this scene is the amount of detail that's shown here. This is something that just pops up for a couple of seconds, in a trailer. And they're already thinking about bullet calibers and, the different names and, manufacturers, the sights, how it's operated and powered, how the recoil works. All of that is just kind of displayed right here in this, few seconds of clips. And I think that's really awesome. It shows you just how much detail and how well thought out that this weapon system is. And if this is what they're doing to just one weapon, imagine the rest of the game. Alright, so moving on here, in the next frame we see a shelf, Stow 84S, with a broken helmet, a bullet hole shot through the transparent front, and 2 books. One which I think kind of references to what kind of game Starfield will be, Sailing Alone Around the World by Captain Joshua Slocum. Another book called Omega and the Constellation Spacefarer's Guide. Also, once again, the watch pops up, but this time just the case. The top of it reads, Property of Constellation, contains Chronomark LifePack Interlink LPV 6.0. You see this same kind of case in the second video that popped up called Into the Starfield. So this hints as to not just a watch, but also some kind of life support system as well. Now, as the video continues, we have a bunch of things to go over here. There is a lot of information to be gleaned out of here, so let's go over and get all the good parts out of the way. First, the writing. At the very top are numerical settings. It says best settings, ENG 343, SHD 631 question mark, and then what looks to be GRV 422, and then upgrade reactor question mark. This little bit of writing for me is huge. It shows that not only we'll be able to fly our own ships, but we'll be able to upgrade and tweak them as well. More than likely, ship upgrading and building will be a big part of this game, and the further we try to go out into space, the more upgrades we will need to get there. Showing off the best settings kind of reminds me of Star Wars Squadrons or a couple other space simulations where you can put more power into engines, shields, or weapons. It also brings back memories of, like I said, a few older space sims as well. So not a lot of writing, but I think this little piece right here says a lot. The next piece of writing says, reminder, Cydonia Security does not have a sense of humor. So here is yet another faction to add to the list that we already know about, Cydonia Security. More than likely from the Cydonia region of Mars. That's again just a guess on my part. And finally, moving towards the bottom, it says, Vasco, we are out of tranquility, do not get decaf. Tranquility will more than likely be Starfield's version of Nuka-Cola, and it's also a play on words, harking back to the Sea of Tranquility, where the first Apollo missions landed on the moon. But more importantly, who is Vasco? Well, my friends, I believe this is Vasco right here. You see the different mech selfies? Vasco is a robot companion you have on your ship. I'm also guessing it helps with the upgrades and the diagnostics, maybe even helping you fly the ship or operating the weapons. You can see it running around the outside of the ship here in this trailer and then loading itself onto the ship right at the very end of this scene. But more importantly, via one of the recent articles, it says this, quote, to help in the journey, there are a variety of robots. While there is nothing like Star Wars C-3PO, Howard said there is one named Vasco, a nod to explorer Vasco da Gama, who was admonished via a crew member's wall scrawl in the trailer because the robot forgot to procure a beverage called Tranquility. The name is yet another nod to NASA, end quote. Also, you see a robot working on the ship in this concept art piece here. We'll get to that video next. Again, not 100% that this is Vasco, but if you put all of that information together, along with the pictures next to the writing, it seems like a perfectly safe bet. And you know how Bethesda likes their companions. So I'm pretty sure that Vasco is the mech we've been seeing walking around in the trailer. And once again, that Bethesda DNA pops up here as well. As we keep going in the video, various mission patches kind of show off various places in the Sol system like Neptune, and even an Easter egg mission patch called the 10th Planet, which was a Bethesda game that was in development but never took off. You can also see a Ranger badge, which could be one of the characters' backstories you choose during the start of your journey. Perhaps this particular character had a military background at some point in time. Another thing to note is that while all of this detail is in front of your face, notice the spaceman behind the glass. You see him unlocking and walking through an airlock, which leads to the next part of the ship, the cockpit. Now, if I had to guess, this area is probably Vasco's personal area. Anyways, moving along here, we get to a part where things get kind of serious. The voice over the video says, quote, "What you found. It's the key to unlocking everything." And right as the female voice says that, it zooms into this piece of paper. Now this paper also dabbles into that particular abbreviation in the nav chart I mentioned earlier, and it has to do with propulsion, I believe, which we'll get to next once we make it into the cockpit. So put this piece of paper on the back burner for now. But as the video goes into the cockpit, the detail here, guys, is absolutely incredible. And it's hard to believe that this isn't really in-engine gameplay. The detail and thought process required to plan out, this entire instrument panel and then create it is absolutely stunning. But once again, we get a ton of information here. The top right panel specifically, you can see on our Dogstar 5000 series instrument panel that there are weapons and shields aboard. So the numbers back in the work area, remember those preferred settings, they could be applied here. You see the abbreviation WPNS and SHLD on this cluster here, along with what looks like 3 different types of weapons and multiple shield configurations. You can also see buttons like grav, which I'm assuming is onboard gravity, and if you look hard enough, you can see other abbreviations like ACS, PFD, DGF, all real-life aeronautical systems. And then of course the launch date pops up with other real-life communication systems like the flight recorder, wideband radio, etc. You can also see various propulsion and throttles here in this video as well, which brings us back to the nav machine. You see the abbreviation GFLA, and it's suspected that it stands for Gravity Field Loop Array. Well, what does this mean? GLFA? Basically a warp drive. Now, nothing can fly faster than the speed of light. Even the speed of light is basically impossible to achieve due to not only the consumption of fuel, but the mass of ships. However, instead of moving through space, why not have space move around the ship? Well, that is exactly what a warp drive does, and that's what this GLFA word basically means. You use gravity to expand space-time behind the ship, and then gravity to shrink space-time in front of the ship. And as you propel yourself forward, you can compress, say, for example, 100 miles into 10 feet in front of the ship. And as you move over that 10 feet, it then expands behind the ship, riding a sort of wave of space-time. So if you're going, say, 13,000 miles per hour, and every 10 feet is 100 miles, you can make up some serious distance without needing to go the speed of light. In fact, if you could control it completely, you could make 1 inch 10,000 miles. And even though you're only going 13,000 miles per hour, you're in fact traveling faster than light. Now it sounds crazy, but it is sound physics, and again, something being explored as we speak here on Earth. But of course, it's exotic technology, and then that brings us back to that piece of paper hanging over in the Vasco area. This to me has a real Mass Effect feel to me. Remember the Prothean ruins on Mars, the treasure trove of information, how humanity discovered Mass Effect properties with Element Zero? This to me looks like something similar. Humanity finds an alien device, and in order to venture beyond the millions and billions of light years required to reach distant galaxies, you're going to need something even more exotic than a warp drive. Because even going the speed of light or slightly over the speed of light, it'll still take thousands of years to reach other star systems in our own galaxy. Going to other galaxies, that's just something mind-blowingly far. Other papers hanging in the area show different parts of the device, and if you look here at this sketch, it even looks like this device is shown in the title screen right here. You can also see that in this snippet here, it seems like we have to find certain pieces to make this machine work. You see the different kind of Greek alphabet letters here and certain little pieces of technology right next to it. So it looks like to me we have to go out and find all these different pieces to make this alien technology work. So that obviously means there's something big here. Now there are other tidbits to take away from this video, but that's really the meat of it. And like I said, we found out more information by zooming into this video and breaking it down than we have learned from the entire Xbox conference. Now I broke down the Into Starfield video, which was part of the Constellation log collection, in another video which you can find here on my channel, but let's quickly recap what we learned from it. Again, the link for that video was found down below in the description box, but on top of the concept art we were able to see, we were also able to glean information from a PC screen, which was no doubt put in this video on purpose. But it gives us several names, factions, companies, planets, and systems. It's hard to read, so I'll just go ahead and read aloud the entire form. So it starts out talking about logo placements. United Colonies, SysDef, and UC Vanguard logos are to be attached at the top. It then says, urgent communique, please be on alert. Pirates of the Crimson Fleet have extended far beyond the Crix system and have established footholds in the Sagan, Cheyenne, Lunara, and Narlon systems. Both SysDef and the Vanguard are committed to ridding United Colony's space of these parasites. This is clearly no longer just a Freestar collective problem. Also be advised that the Crimson Fleet is not a single organized entity or faction, rather it is a loose confederation of individual captains, all organized under the same banner. Shown here is the symbol or Jolly Roger they've adopted. Anyone displaying that symbol is assumed to be associated with the Crimson Fleet and can be terminated a ... This is where the typing cursor appears, so assumingly it finishes the sentence with terminated at will. It then says place Crimson Fleet logo here, and at the bottom, finishing the letter, it says any questions should be addressed to Lieutenant John Twala at Mast for the Vanguard and Commander Kibwe Akande aboard the UC Vigilance for SysDef. Signed, UC Fleet Admiral Pasquale Logan, Mast, New Atlantis, Planet Jemison, Alpha Centauri. And MAST stands for Military, Administrative, and Scientific Triumvirate. So once you add up all the detail in the launch video trailer, along with this letter and concept art from the second video, we start to get a much better picture of what this game will be like, and it seems to not only be massive in scope and size, but awe-inspiring in its detail and creation process. Todd Howard's perfect game, and I cannot wait to see what that turns out to be like. It's going to be a huge universe with lots of different weapon manufacturers or armorers, shipbuilders, and just companies in general. Also, lots of different and warring factions, perhaps even alien factions, and lots of places to visit, not to mention different systems and planets. Naming just these handful of systems and the planets in these systems could warrant a huge game in itself. But I bet that is just scratching the surface, as procedural generation is rumored to be used in creating the many planets within Starfield. And if that is true, then there are so many places to visit that the devs had to turn to procedural generation just to be able to build it all. Anyways, that's about it, y'all. So far, that's all we know about Starfield wrapped up into one video. Now, there are, again, lots of small things that I skipped over, but overall, these are the big takeaways. Thank you all so much for watching and for your patience as we scrutinize every detail here in this video. I have the links for everything I talked about, as well as the various articles down below in the description box, including the videos and posts, so definitely check those out as well. Thanks for sticking with me on such a long video, but doing things like this gets me so excited for the future, and keep it here as I'll be covering Starfield throughout its development and up until launch. If you're new to my channel, then welcome my friend, welcome to Sly Nation. I hope you stick around for what's to come as we are just getting started. Spank the thumbs up or down if you liked, loved, or hated the video, and if you wish to get in touch, business or otherwise, SlyNationGaming67@gmail.com, or check me out over on the socials at Sly_Nation on Twitter, Sly Nation Gaming on Facebook. Take care, y'all, and keep those eyes open for more Starfield videos coming out here soon. But until then, this is your dude Sly, and I will see you all in the Starfield.